Hi, I'm Marva, and this is my pitch buddy, Sandy. We're going to show you a way to go through your pitches with your pitch buddies today. I'm not going to do an entire pitch, just going to sort of walk you through possibilities for approaching your pitches when you're ready to start pitching. So first you're going to want to start with an introduction, and I'm going to do a demonstration of one right now.
Hi, Marva.
Hello.
Welcome. Have a seat.
Well, I'm here to pitch to you a romantic comedy today. It's called Mismatch, and it's all about Melinda. She's this misanthropic, lazy writer who wants nothing more than to win a blogging award, a national blogging award, held every year. And but she has this problem. It always seems to go to the same guy every single year.
Intriguing.
So that's a possible intro. It's kind of dry, but I get a lot of the important aspects out. I've introduced myself, I gave her my name, the title of the screenplay, the main character's name, and her goal, and a possible obstacle. It's good to get that information out quickly, but there's other ways you can introduce yourself and your movie. Here's another example.
Come on in, Marva. Good to
Hello.
see you.
Good to see you.
What do you want to pitch today?
Well, before we even get started, I just want to tell you that I never really understood horror movies as a kid. I mean,
Me either.
it never makes sense, and the characters don't fight back, and it seems like they just aren't that scary. At least, that's how I felt until this thing that happened when I was 16 changed my
What was that?
entire perspective. It's the reason I wrote Ghost Brains. Okay, so that was pretty cheesy, but it's another way you could introduce yourself and the movie. It not only created a little bit of atmosphere, but filmmakers love the idea that you're the only person who could write your screenplay. And one of the best ways to show that is to show that you have a connection to it, a personal connection to the story. I would not pitch what's happened to you for your entire pitch, but if you can show your connection to it quickly, definitely go ahead and do that. Now, here's another way you could introduce yourself and the screenplay.
Hi, Marva.
Hi, Sandy.
And you're here to pitch today.
Yes, I am. I'm actually here to talk to you about Joe, the biggest loser in the world. I mean, he won't shut up, and everything he talks about has to be a competition as well. Like, if you're drinking a soda and you say, oh, I really love this soda, he's like, oh, you know what? Once I almost owned a soda factory.
I know that guy.
Yeah, he has to brag about things he hasn't even done.
Right.
So he's really not hero material. But in my action-adventure screenplay hero material, he's all we've got.
Okay.
There's another introduction. Most screenplays, hopefully, are driven by a strong leading character. And so if you have a good character, an interesting character, you might want to go ahead and just lead with that character. Those are 3 different ways to introduce yourself and your movie, your screenplay. But there's a million other ways, and you just kind of have to play around to find out what works best for you. Now, once you've introduced your movie and yourself, you're going to want to start talking about the story. There's a few different ways to do this as well. Now, as you may have noticed in my first pitch, I told you about Melinda, and I told you about her goals. So it won't be hard to go into obstacles, which lead to the end of the first act, the midpoint, and the end of the second act, and even the ending. And if you like, you can just go through and explain the rest of the story from there. You might have also noticed that in my pitch for Ghost Brains, I didn't even introduce any characters yet. So I want to do that pretty quickly so I can let you know what the characters' goals are as well. Why goals? Well, whoever's listening is going to want to know why they're listening, and they're not going to have any hopes or interest in the film until they know what the character's hopes are for. So I might go on to say, Ghost Brains is all about these 4 girls who decide to spend the night in an abandoned government facility that may or may not be haunted. Why? Well, the captain of the football team has declared that he won't go to prom with any girl who can't spend the night in an abandoned government facility that may be haunted. 3 of the girls really want to go to prom with him, so they're willing to go through this. And one of the girls thinks this is idiotic.
I like her.
Yeah. Her name's Robin, and she wants to go and prove how stupid these girls are and the fact that ghosts do not exist. So right then and there, I was able to quick get the characters out, tell you what the goals of the main character were, and hopefully from there move on to talk about what happens to lead you to the end of the first act. Now, as you're talking about the structural points in the movie, like I said, you can just tell the story, and if you've done your work with your screenplay, the end of the first act, the midpoint, and the end of the second act are major parts of your story anyway, and you will hit them. If you really want to make sure that the person listening knows that you have that structure in your screenplay, you might also think about just pointing them out as you hit them. You might say, so at the end of the first act in Hero Material, Joe has realized that his girlfriend of 10 years has been cheating on him and is taken up with a terrorist who plans on destroying the White House.
Wow.
You can point that out as you go along. You might also want to do this for the midpoint, although it's not as important as getting to the second act. Now, once you get to the end of the second act, because that's usually one of the most major parts of the movie, you have to make a decision. You can decide whether or not you want to go ahead and tell them the end of the movie. If it's, something major, if it's the big, important part of your film idea, you might want to tell them what it is. Other times, you might just want to kind of entice them into reading the script, in which case you might leave it as a cliffhanger. You might say, at the end of the second act in Ghost Brains, Robin has realized that the ghosts do exist and has to decide whether she's going to help these dumb girls who got her there in the first place or try to escape with her life. And if you want to know what happens next, you'll have to read Ghost Brains. If you leave it on a cliffhanger, they might read it, but you can go either way, and it all depends on what you feel comfortable with, what your goals are, and what your story's like. So basically, when you practice with your pitch buddy, you're finding out what works best for you. You want to know how your voice and how your story flows when you're trying to sell it to someone. And it's really practice that makes perfect. So the main thing is just to start doing it. Start telling your story. And pretty soon you'll get a rhythm and be able to sell your story and your voice and hopefully get your screenplay made.